All right, hi everyone. I'm going to do a short video here on how to use Google Forms to create a quiz, which I'm just going to use it as an assignment, not necessarily a quiz. And I'm going to set it up so that it will automatically grade it for me and so that I could give feedback right away onto the assignment itself. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So I'm going straight to my Google Drive. You could do this straight from your email. What you're looking for, again, is that waffle pattern that goes to your Google Apps. So I'm going to go into Forms. And what I'm looking for is blank quiz. So it's going. There's the little world going. All right. So here is our Google quiz coming up. So I want to go ahead and give this a name. So for the sake of this little video, I'm going to call this the video quiz. And I'm going to come down and name the quiz here in big letters. Same thing. Video quiz. All right. Now you have a little box there for form description. You do not have to fill that part out. It is optional. If you leave it blank, the kids will not see those words there. Okay, they will only see this section right here if you actually choose some words there. All right, so I'm going to show you some of the sample questions that you can do here for the quiz to help the kids out. Some of my favorites. One of the first things I like to do is, again, make sure the kids have their name. You can do a separate one for first and last name. I usually put it in just one question. Now, if you notice, as I typed that in, it automatically defaulted to short answer, and then I have this place in here, short answer text, so they can type in their name. Now, I also want to not enforce, but recommend the required toggle down here at the bottom. That tells the student that they have to answer that question before they leave that page. All right, so the next question I want to ask the kids is their student ID number. A lot of times I have kids with the same first and last name, sometimes in the same classroom. So I want to make sure that I have their ID number just to make sure I know which kid I'm looking at. So as you're working on a question, you notice this box pops up on the right. That plus sign is what you can use to add a question. So for this one, I want it to be student ID. So they actually have to enter in their ID number. And notice again, it changed over to short answer for me. And then I'm going to leave this up here because, again, I'm dealing with numbers. And I'm going to make this required. Now, one thing I like to do with my classes for their assignments is I actually like the questions to be jumbled. So no matter which student logs in, the order of the questions will be different for each student. So what I'm going to do is create two sections to this assignment. So this part, just their name and their ID is going to be section 1 or part 1. So to add another section, that is this little equal sign down here. So these two questions are essentially my first section. And I'm fine with those two being out of order. If maybe they do student ID first and then their name, that's fine. I don't mind that. But I don't want them working around their questions and maybe the third question down is where they have to put their name. And maybe the last question on the whole thing is where they do student ID. So those two parts of information, I have those in the first box. So now I'm going to add section 2. They'll get this little message after section 1 to continue to the next section. And now I'm on section 2. And this is where they're actually going to be doing their assignment. So please answer, just going to put in some instructions here, all the following questions. Now, I have my students email me in their work. So this might also be where I add that information in there. Make sure to email me your required scratch work. So that way they can email it in. All right, so again, and notice here it says the word description. That is optional. So this is just where I have my instructions to the kids that I want them to pay attention to. So I'm going to add my first question. And again, I'm not going to number it because I want it to randomize. But if you don't want it to randomize the order, then you could put in number 1 and then your question. So I'm going to put in just a couple of sample questions so that you can see the different kinds of things that you can do with these. So let's say the first one, describe the domain and range of the function. of the following function. All right, so right now they did default over to a paragraph, but I don't want it to be an actual paragraph. So first off, I'm going to change this over to a multiple choice, just to show you the multiple choice ones. Now, for these kids to be able to answer this question, they need the function that they're going to find the domain and range for. So I'm actually going to add a picture to this question. And that's what this little square with what looks to be two little triangles inside it when it's actually supposed to be the picture of a mountain. So I'm going to click on that. And I am going to hit browse to upload a picture. Now I've saved a couple of pictures already on my computer, so I am going to pick out a couple of those. So I've already snipped and been able to see what kind of picture I want to have. All right, so now you should be able to see the picture. Now, this particular one has instructions. This particular picture that I took does have instructions in there. So this is just showing that you can either type your instructions into the box, or when you snip the picture, you can snip the directions in the entire picture as well. Now, with this one picture, I have actually taken and snipped the question that I want them to have, the different answer choices I want them to know, and the actual picture. So I snipped this out of a Word document that I already had. So that's already there. So since I have the instructions, the question in my picture, I'm going to delete what I have there. And then let's say I will call this, we do need something in that box. So you could say see below. All right, now since this picture that I snapped does have the answer choices in it, that infinity sign is the reason why I did that. Google Forms does have a little bit of trouble doing some of our math symbols, so I went ahead and snipped the answer choices in with the whole big picture. So when I come down for my multiple choice, I can put in just A, and I can have just A, B, C, D, and they pick which one matches the right answer choice in the picture. Now, when you start typing these in, you do get suggestions. I'm going to go ahead and click Add All because I do need all 4 of them. So they can use the picture to figure out which domain matches the function, or match in this case, matches the inverse, and then they can choose the correct answer. Now, since I want this to grade it for me, down here in blue, answer key is what's going to allow me to do that. So when I click answer key, this is where I can choose the actual correct answer. So what is the domain of the inverse? Well, we know that's the same as the range of the original, and this is our original graph that's here. So we're looking at 4 to positive infinity, which would be answer choice D. So I come down here, I click on D. Notice the circle's filled in, it's in green, and there's the little check mark. Now, you only see this part as you, the creator, or you, the editor. Now, one thing I do love is you can give feedback directly to these questions. So add answer feedback is what I like. So I could tell them something incorrect. If they get it incorrect, certain feedback right there. Okay, you were looking for domain of the inverse. Remember, check out the range of the original as their little hint. Maybe look at it again. Now, let's say they get it right. I can still give them feedback right away. Maybe great job. And that way they've gotten, whether they get it right, they get it wrong, they get some kind of validation either way. Now, something else you can do, and especially with incorrect answers, you can either post in a link to something special. So maybe you have a formula chart that you would like them to go back and look at. You can paste that link in there. If it's in your Google Docs, you can paste it in there, and then they will be able to see it. The other thing, and then you can have little text to display to show them exactly, hey, this is clickable. The other thing you could do, if your video is uploaded to a YouTube, you have the YouTube box there, this rectangle with the triangle in it. You could click that link and find your YouTube video and put the link to that for your notes, so they could re-watch that part of the notes. So those are just a couple of options you have there. Later on, I will show you how to set up a link for your Google Docs if you do have a formula chart or if you wanted to upload a video. So for now, though, I'm going to leave that off. So I'm going to X that out, and I'm going to save what we've got. Now, before I can leave, I need to be able to tell this question how many points it's worth. So let's say I make this one worth, and since I'm only going to do a few points here, I'm only going to do a couple of questions. Let's say I want this one worth, let's say 40 points. You can make it 5 points, 10 points. You can make it 13 if you wanted. And if you notice in gray, it's tallying up how many points I've got so far. All right, so if I'm done working with this question, I'm going to hit done and make sure I click the required toggle, and then I'm going to try my next question. Now, I'm going to make my next question very similar to this one because there's another way you can approach those math symbols that we can't actually type in, like the infinity. So this particular question, okay, I'm going to do something very similar to that. See below. I have a different kind of picture saved. I have the similar picture, but when I snip it out of my Word document, I used freeform. So that way I can make a certain pattern. I could draw a little box around it so that I'm not using the answer choices. So it's not necessarily drawing a rectangle around it. It's free form. I use my mouse to trace around it. And so that's the only part of it that I got. Now, for these kinds of questions that don't have the answer choices here, like the previous one had them in here, you can now add those answer choices to each option. So let's say I have option A. I'm going to go ahead and take the suggestion, add all, A, B, C, and D. And you can also add little pictures to each of these options. So notice here for option choice A, I'm going to click add image. Now I have snipped every answer choice and saved them to my computer, and I labeled them so that I could find them easily. And then you upload each individual answer choice. So here is answer choice A. So again, on my Word document, I snipped just that little answer choice, and I'm uploading that one picture to answer choice A. Now, if I do the same thing to B, same thing, I'm going to find where I saved that picture, and it'll automatically pull it in. So I could keep going with C and D, but for time, I'm not going to do the other two. All right, so add answer key. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to pick one of these. I know it's not correct, but I'm just going to pick one of them for now, and I want to add answer feedback. Same thing as before. Range of the original. Type in kind of whatever you would like there. Correct answers, again, I like to put in great job. And save. All right, now another kind of question you can do, so let me click done here, is a free response kind of question. So for this one, let's say I want to do, it's going to be a free response, and let's say it's going to be a solving question. So find the value of x in the, in the equation. Let's say x plus 5, just going to make it nice and friendly here, equals 8. So they actually have to tell me what x equals. So they would need to solve this out. So this would be one of those questions that I would want them to email me their Scratch work. Even if they only have to do the work on that one problem, they can easily snap a picture of that work and email it to me. All right, so what I want them to be able to do, I'm going to give them instructions because it is a free response. So I'm going to tell them you do not have to type x equals. Just type the number. All right, so that way when they start giving me their answers, I know that it's going to be exactly just the answer. It's not going to be x equals 3. They're just going to type in 3. Now, you will have those students that miss that part, and they will give you x equals 3. So answer key is where we're going to try to take care of that issue. So under answer key, add correct answer. So the correct answer would be just a 3. But again, we know we're going to have those kids that no matter what will actually hit x equals 3. Some of them may put a space on either side of that equals. Some of them may put a space in there. I could go on and on and on. Maybe x equals, then the space 3, x space equals 3, all kind of different variations of that. They may choose a different letter even to put in there. But those would be kind of the variations off of the answers that I would personally take for credit, because they have shown that they know how to do it. So mark all other answers incorrect. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box. So that way they know, if that way I know anything outside of those options, most likely count it wrong. All right, and again, add answer feedback since it is free response. This time, the feedback will most likely be if they get it wrong. So I could say something like, go back and check your math. Whatever kind of feedback you would like to give them. All right, and again, we'll look at how to set up a link and how to set up the YouTube video in a little bit. All right, and save. Now, one thing I haven't done yet on these last 2 questions was set how many points it's worth. So remember, right now, I only have this set for 40 points. So the question I'm on right now, I still need to give it a set number of points. So let's say this one's only worth 20 points. It automatically sets it for us. So I'm going to save that. And don't forget your toggle for required. And I need to go back to the previous question and set its points as well. Notice if you're not sure, where down here where it says answer key, it says 0 points. And notice I didn't do the toggle as well. So there's my toggle for required answer key. Let's say this one is worth 20 points. All right. Actually, we'll make this one worth 40 points. Go ahead and total that up to 100. So then it would be ready to go. All right, so there's just a couple of options you have there. Again, play around, make sure you click done here. Play around with your different options here on what kind of questions you can add. You can change it from multiple choice to all different kinds of options here. But just for now, I'm going to go back and actually delete this question. Now, again, like it happens, if you happen to accidentally add a question that you don't want in here, you have this little trash can here for delete. So I'm going to click delete here, and now that question's gone. Now, the other thing that you can do, if you do decide to number these and you want them in a certain order, if it turns out you don't necessarily like the order, those 6 dots there do allow you to click and drag and change up your questions. All right, so right now I have all my questions correct. I do want to preview this just for a second to make sure everything looks okay. All right, so there's section 1. Now, for me to click next, notice it says they're required. So just so that I can go to the next page, I'm going to put in a number and a letter there for name and ID, hit next. Here's what the rest of it would look like. So here's that question that has just the picture and the instructions there. And there's my answer choices that I gave it. Here's the picture that has the question that has the answer choices inside the picture. So then all they're picking is A, B, C, D. And then here's the free response question down at the bottom. Each question does say how many points it's worth to total up to that 80. So, to total up to that 100. So it's okay. I'm happy with the way it looks. I'm going to close that out. Now, how do you know the kids actually answered your quiz? That's where the response piece comes in right here, responses. When we click over to responses right now, of course, I haven't shared it with anybody. I'm at 0 responses. So nobody has answered this yet. So let me go in and show you what some of my other quizzes look like where kids actually have responded. All right. So notice now, once they start answering responses, I have 119. And when I go into that side, I've got different options here. I can see a summary, kind of where everybody's points are falling here. There are different scores for everybody that's answered it. If I want to look at the individual questions, I can see all the different responses that I've gotten in so far for the kiddos. And then I can see it as each individual person, how they answered and who was missing the different questions. Now, one thing I love is that I can view all of the responses in one place in a spreadsheet, and that's what this green square with the white plus sign is for. So once that opens up, I'll have an Excel spreadsheet with everybody's names on it and everybody's grades on it. Now, mine is in blue right now because these are ones that I have already entered in the grade book. That's just something I like to do so that I can keep track of who hasn't answered yet. So there's another way that you can see all their scores, all their names, and how they did. All right, now one thing I wanted to show you guys is maybe if they want to refer back to a formula chart that you've created. So what I did was I created a formula chart in Google Docs, which again, you can get to Google Docs by doing the waffle. It's down, for mine, it's down there in blue. And I would just go to blank, start a new document. And I used my snippet tool, so that I could just insert basic pictures. So what I created was a formula chart for one of my classes because we were looking at conversions. So I found those pictures and I just snipped them into this Google Doc. And what I did with these pictures, I actually took the website that this Google Doc is located, and you can insert it in to a Google form if you want them to be able to locate a certain formula. So if I was to go back to the form that we just made, the Google quiz, make sure you email me. So I'm going to add that link in. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the description. So use the link provided to access your the formula chart. And then what I can do, Control V, or you can paste that link in, paste. Oh, maybe I didn't save it. All right, so I'm going to right click and copy that link. And then now right click and paste it in. So there is my link. I can use that exact same link to get back to their formula chart in my feedback. So if we went back to answer key, these little pencils are what lets you edit these. So maybe I wanted them to be able to access their formula chart in their answers, in their feedback. Link to, there's that same link. It's just short at the moment, text to display. If I could spell, sorry about that. Formula chart, add, and save. So now, if they get that question wrong, there's an immediate link straight to their formula chart. If I had a video, I could upload that video, or if you had a YouTube link to a video, you could upload that YouTube link. And then I can click done, and it's there. Now, I know this link is really long, and it looks strange, it looks odd. If you want something a little bit shorter, there is a site you can use to create your own bit.ly link, which is to make it shorter. The website for bit.ly is app.bitly.com. You can see it's showing up there in my web page. So you might need to sign into this, and I signed in through my Google email. And I can use create. So I would have to paste my login. That would be the Google form one that I just created. And notice there it is. It's shortened it down. This is the title that's coming off the link. What I could do, those last letters that are in there, that's where I might want to type in the title of my formula chart. So maybe you can type it in triangle classifications, or you could type in parent functions, whatever you might want to call your whatever you might want to call your formula chart. So again, I made one for that common conversion sheet. So when I click, this is the first one I've got. So when they actually go in to that common conversion, so again, I'm going to delete that part, common conversions. I save it. And then all we've got is this tiny little link right here, bit.ly/common conversions. I can copy it, go to my quiz, edit that long website that's there, and now it's much shorter. And now it looks a lot nicer in there, and the link actually matches what you titled your formula chart a little more to be. All right, guys, so I hope that helps you out with making your Google quiz, and I hope I gave you some ideas and things that you could try. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. Bye, guys.